Hi, I'm Penguin402, aka Taylor, and I'm going to try to make this video really short because I don't have enough data on my camera to do a long video, but I'm going to be talking about the Girl Scout murders. So, the Girl Scout murders took place on June 13th, 1977, and about less than 2 months before that happened, during an on-site training session with the counselors, a counselor notices that her tin had been ransacked and a few things had been missing and her donuts had been taken, but the box was still there. And in the box there was a note that said, 3 campers will be murdered, will be killed. Well, the people there thought it was a joke, thought someone was playing a prank, so they just discarded it. Well, less than 2 months later, that night, 3 girls, Doris Denise Milner, who was 10, she went by Denise Milner, Michelle Gousset, who was 9, and Lori Lee Farmer, who was 10, was murdered. They were bludgeoned, strangled, and raped. And it happened at Camp Scott in the Kiowa unit, and a lot of things have gone. There have been some strange things about this story. One of them being the whole note and discarding the note, like who does that? But also, there just so much has gone on with this case. I'm gonna try to make it short, but basically, that night it was their first night at camp, and the 3 girls got murdered. Well, there have been people online. One girl online said that someone tried coming into her tent that night at Camp Scott, and she freaked, and she stayed asleep, but she was acting like she was asleep, and the person opened up the flap of her tent and shined the flashlight into the tent, and it woke her up. Another person is saying online that a couple of guys from the local Boy Scout that was by the camp, there was a Boy Scout camp nearby, and some guy online was saying that he was at that camp at the time, and someone, a couple of guys that he knew came into the tent or whatnot and were freaking out because they said they didn't mean to kill him, they made it as a prank, but that one doesn't make sense because about 2 miles away, and then the note made no sense. Then my dad heard a story of a lady that she said her husband had done it because that night that had happened, he came home really late, covered in blood, had what looked like could be used as murder weapons. They were covered in blood, and she thinks her husband did. Then another guy, he went to prison for fraud. He talked with this other dude that he became friends with, and they talked about the murders, and that guy said that he had done it. So the fraud guy decided to make a movie about it, telling him, hey, this is who did it, but no one really knows. No one really knows because that movie hasn't came out yet. And they announced it 3 years ago, maybe, 2 or 3 years ago, and it still hasn't came out yet. So it's dude, you know who did it, why won't you release the movie yet? I mean, and he wanted to do it at Camp Scott, but they decided, but the new owners of Camp Scott said no, they didn't want it there out of respect of the victims, and also didn't want a copycat murder happening. And so they caught what they thought was a guy. His name was Gene Leroy Hart. He was a Cherokee, he was Cherokee, and he grew up about a mile from Camp Scott, and he was a star football player in Locust Grove. And when the trial happened, there were so many people that were split. There were people outside of Locust Grove that were they were 1,000% sure that he had done it, but the town of Locust Grove was no, he could never do wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. He hadn't hurt those girls, and they thought it was him because he had escaped about 3 years prior to this. He escaped from the Mays County Jail because he had went to jail because he had strangled and raped 2 pregnant women, had 4 counts of burglary on his record as well, and he escaped from the Mays County Jail, and they found him at a Cherokee medicine man's house, and that's where they caught him, and that's why they kind of put two and two together. Oh, he has a history of rape and a history of strangling. Well, it has to be him. So a lot of the townspeople were like, oh, they're being racist because he's Native American, he's Cherokee. And, like, I don't know who did it. I'm like, who did it? It's not none of my business, like, but, like, I want to see justice for these girls, and they went to court over it, and he was acquitted, and everyone in that courtroom, besides the other lawyer and the victims' families, cheered. They were all cheering. They were, like, all cheering because he was acquitted. And it's like, no, those girls will never get justice because of DNA. DNA testing technology hasn't advanced so far that, like, oh, a 40-year-old unsolved murder, unsolved case can get solved because, yeah, like, we don't have technology where a 40-year-old case can get solved right now. Can be solved right now. Because they tried in the 80s, they tried doing DNA testing on it, and it didn't work because of, because of DNA testing technology was fairly new at the time, so they couldn't really do much about it. So around between 2004 and 2008, they did another test. Well, the results were found inconclusive because the evidence had been too old. It was too old for them to really do anything about it. So, yeah, what happened. And even though he was acquitted, Julia Hart was acquitted, he still had to go to prison because he escaped from jail. Because he escaped, they had to send him to prison, and he still had, like, he was, like, 2 months into jail. Like, 2 months into jail, he had, like, 300 and 300 and some odd days left to serve. His sentence left to serve, and he died. He died in the prison exercise yard lifting weights because I think he had, like, a heart attack, if I'm not mistaken. And so he died. He died, and so we don't know if he actually did it or not. No one knows. People think they know who did it, but no one really knows. And I will be posting the links below, posting in the description below, links to the local news station Tulsa Channel 8 who did a story on this, and Tulsa World, because they did like a 6-part story on this, and I read it, and it was interesting. So go and check that out. And actually, Denise Milner, she was so excited about going to camp, but then the day that she was supposed to leave, she got so scared that she didn't want to go, but she went anyways. And another fun fact, there was actually supposed to be a 4th girl in that tent with them, in tent 8 where they died, where the murders had taken place. And, like, the counselor had found one of the girls dead at, like, 6 o'clock in the morning the next day. Like, found her in her sleeping bag about 150 yards from her tent. And because the counselor took a weird way to the showers and found the girl, so they called 911. Police came and found out 3 girls had been murdered. All the girls were evacuated, like, within hours of finding this out. They were all evacuated, went back to Tulsa, and the parents weren't allowed to tell the kids what happened. The victims' families did not know anything, did not know this had happened, did not know their daughters were dead. Apparently they found out on the news, found out while watching the news. Nowadays, like, they wait to tell the family before announcing the victim's name. They wait to tell the family. But that's what happened, and it's a tragedy that had to happen, and I hope that we can find justice for these girls, because the oldest one, Denise, she would be 50 years old. She would be 50 years old today if she was still alive. She would be 50 years old. And she would already been probably been married, probably had kids, would probably be in her dream job, having a dream career, and now she'll never get that. She'll never get that. They all three will never get any of that. And I want to see justice served for those three girls because that shouldn't have happened. And at the time, it was worldwide. Like, people couldn't believe that it happened. Something like that could happen, and it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy that it happened. And also another thing that I want to say about it is that the three girls that died, they were just like Denise. It was her first year ever going. I think for all three of those girls, it was their first year going to camp. They had sold all their cookies to go to camp, and then they get killed. Like, what? Why would you do that? And going back to the fraud guy, the guy who was convicted of fraud, became friends with the guy that confessed. Why would you confess to that? Why would you go and confess to him? Like, it doesn't add up. It doesn't seem right. Like, why would you confess to a murder? Why, if you murdered someone, you don't go and confess that you murdered them. It's like the whole JonBenét Ramsey case. Like, the guy confessed to it and he never did it. It's like, why would you lie? Why lie about it? But that's just me, and like, I hope that one day we do get justice for those three girls because they deserve it. And since the murder took place, Camp Scott has never been reopened, and on both Tulsa Chandelier and Tulsa World, on both their websites, where you can find the two stories, a lot of people in the comments are saying, oh, Camp Scott needs to be reopened. No, it does not. Post in the comments below if you think it should be reopened. I don't think it should be reopened because, for one, it's not. You shouldn't reopen it because you want. It's like when you go to a cemetery. They tell you not to step on graves, step on a person's grave, not step on any people's graves, the dead person's graves, dead people's graves, because that's a sign of disrespect. It's disrespectful. Well, reopening Camp Scott is disrespectful, and who knows, that place could be haunted, and then you'll have like girls that are even more scared, and they also don't want to reopen it because they don't want, if that person that did kill the girls are still alive, if that person's still alive, which I highly doubt that they're still alive, they probably already died, but if they're still alive, they could go back and they could kill three more girls, or four girls. Kill more girls, or there could be a copycat murder, and they don't want that. So I have to say it should not be reopened because of the whole copycat murder thing, and just the whole thing of like respecting the girls and respecting where they died, like letting them rest in peace. Like, you want to just let them rest in peace. You can go to Camp Scott, you can go and visit, but it's private property, and you have to call the person, because they've had several paranormal investigators checking out the place. And so if you want to go, you have to contact them. I don't have their number. If I did, I would post in the comments below. Post in the description below about it. But for now, that's all I really have. And I will say that tent 8 was the farthest tent away from the whole camp, and the tent was partially obscured by the farthest tent away in the Kiowa unit, because all the units were named after Native Americans, and the tent was partially obscured, couldn't see it, partially obscured by the showers. And one of the counselors that night that the murder took place heard screams, and she woke up, and she woke up the other counselor in the tent with her, and was like, did you hear that? And she's like, no. you're just imagining things. You're just hearing things. It's nothing. Just go back to sleep. So she did. Moments later, after going back to sleep, moments later, she wakes up and she sees a flashing light. So she goes outside with her flashlight to check it out, and she holds her flashlight up, and she starts flashing it back while the lights turn off. So she's like, oh, it must be like the girls still awake, and they see me flashing their lights, so they went back, so they turned it off because they didn't want to get in trouble. But no, it was the girls being murdered. And so a lot of weird things have happened in this case, and I really do hope it gets solved. I really do. But if you guys want me to talk about more about this case, let me know in the comments below, because I wanted to do a live stream of this, but my mom's going to be home when I upload this, so I don't like doing streams. I don't like doing streams or videos when she's home, because she thinks I'm talking to myself. So I don't want to do that, and plus I get embarrassed real easily, so yeah. So if you want me to talk more in depth about this, I will later in the future, maybe after October 30th, I'll do it. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll know when I do another video. And next week I'm going to be doing talking about the Oklahoma City bombing, which will be interesting. So you don't want to miss that. And on Friday, hold on, really quick. On Friday, I'm doing the Impossible Quiz 2, so look out for that. So you don't want to miss out on that. So make sure you hit that notification bell. Bye.